We can only wear that 5 or 6 times.
That's right. That's exactly right. Or twice a week. Hi, everyone. I'm Trent Rohr. I'm the Executive Director of the Human Services Agency. We're the city agency that administers the Jobsnow program, which we're here to talk about today. A month from now, a little less than a month from now, if Congress doesn't act, this jobs program in San Francisco is going to go away. It's going to go away across the country as well. We jumped into this program early in May of 2009 on the heels of the Federal Stimulus Act in February. The act allowed for 100% federal reimbursement of wages to employers who hire individuals through this program. The idea in San Francisco was threefold. First would be to get people back to work, which this program has done with wild success. The second is to help businesses, small and large, either maintain or even grow during this time of economic recession. And the last is, of course, to stimulate the local economy, which we've done through the wages. $55 million in wages are projected to be reimbursed through the end of September of this year. That's money going right back into the local economy. Arguably one of the biggest successes of the Federal Stimulus Act is this program nationally. Today what we want to announce, and the mayor will take the lead on this, is a new campaign, really a final push to get the federal government to act, to get the Senate specifically to act to extend this program. $2.5 billion, we'll extend it for another year. We'll keep the 3,800 people who've been employed in San Francisco through this program on the job, and will allow us to continue to grow and expand the program. The last day of August, we had to suspend our program. We are no longer enrolling new employees. We're no longer enrolling new employers. So for us, we're at the status quo. We have a month left. We're working hard to get our folks ready for the transition. We hope to not have to do that. But we are preparing for the bad news. So today, final push, and the mayor will talk a little bit about the program as well as that.
All right, thanks, Trent. And thank you all very much for taking the time to be here. I actually was just left Senator Feinstein, who has been a huge champion of this program and a big supporter with Senator Boxer. And I reference that not to impress, but to impress upon you. We're going to need all the friends we can get and all the champions we can get to extend this program. 3,820 families, 3,820 families are being served by this program. These are families, many of which, close to, in fact, 1,000 of these families were on welfare and are now pulled out of welfare and have the dignity of a paycheck and a dignity that comes with a paycheck when they come back home to feed their family. And that's not a rhetorical line. That's not a line just to play some politics. That's quite literal. This program arguably is the most successful stimulus program in the United States of America, and I can back that up. This is a program that hires from the private sector disproportionately and benefits the private sector disproportionately. This is a program that helps small businesses. For all of the rhetoric coming from Washington, D.C. and Sacramento and up and down the local municipal halls up and down this state and around this nation, here's a program that works. This is an interesting fact that underscores it. Congress wisely and appropriately extended unemployment insurance. What is unemployment insurance to a family in California? It means you receive $450 a week, not to work. You're looking for work, but you receive a $450 check a week to work, and Congress wisely extended that. A lot of Republicans opposed it because they said we needed to find a way to fund it, but in principle, they understand the importance of unemployment benefits. Here's a program where people in the transitional part of the program receive $447 a week to work. Let me repeat that. We can hand out $450 a week not to work, or $447 a week to work. We can hand that $447 a week to work for those that need it the most, people with kids, that benefit those that need those employees the most, small business, to go out and create wealth and opportunity and to stimulate our economy. It doesn't get much better than that. So it is beyond mesmerizing, and I think it goes to, my frustration with the extraordinary lack of leadership in this country right now on this issue of jobs, the rhetoric aside, the lack of leadership, that fundamental fact has been ignored by elected officials. And this should, more than anything else, drive people through the wall, through the roof. You could pay people to work, or you could pay people not to work. If you pay people to work, and by the way, none of the folks you see right here want unemployment benefits. They all spoke eloquently when they were here. And that's just a small sampling, 1,000+ families that are represented right there, of people that want to keep their jobs, that don't want an unemployment check. They want to go home and feel good about themselves because they worked and they had the dignity of a day where they feel like their life's moving in the right direction, not stuck in neutral. But Congress is not acting. The House has twice passed this. Nancy Pelosi has twice processed this, twice it's passed. The President and his staff, and trust me when I say this, we have talked to all of them directly, say they will sign this, absolutely. Only thing that is stopping small businesses from getting the benefit, families from getting the benefit, and individuals the benefit of the dignity of work is the Senate and the politics in Washington, D.C. And it is pure partisan politics. If you are a Republican and you are rightly frustrated by the lack of quote-unquote net new jobs from the stimulus, you should jump up and down when you find out about a program like this that creates direct jobs, that directly helps not just government, but the private sector. 800 employers are part of this program in San Francisco alone. 20,000 plus people are about to lose their jobs in the next few weeks if we don't act. This is a big deal. And look at the faces. Who's represented there? 70% minority. African American community, the Latino community, and the Asian community, where unemployment rate is exponentially higher than the state and federal average, and even our local average. So again, if it's all about rhetoric and all about politics and positioning, then support the status quo. If you actually believe in jobs and believe in the private sector and believe in the dignity of work, and you want to create real opportunity and real wealth and economic output that can actually stimulate growth in the economy, then extend this jobs program. I hate to, again, be so aggressive. Now, that being said, here's a study that came out, basically said exactly what I just said and what we've been saying. It's from the budget, the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. It said walking away from a win-win-win. That just lays out this benefits businesses, it benefits families, and it benefits county welfare rolls. It reduces the cost of government, increases economic growth and private sector development, and creates opportunity by reducing the burden of the federal government with unemployment benefits. So nothing is, to me, more obvious than this, but obvious doesn't always make the best case for progress in a political environment where there's elections at stake. I want to thank everybody you see behind me for their leadership, and Scott Hauge and others, and really activating the small business community, because this is a program we started that was quote-unquote too good to be true. No one believed it. We started with a goal of 1,000 people, and they said that couldn't be done. Then we got to 1,500. They said, you'll never get to 2,000. We said, we'll get to 3. We got to 3, then we got to 3,500, and then we got to go to Congress because we realized we got to extend this thing because we're not going to get much further because this thing's about to expire. LA County has a huge number of people about to lose their jobs because of this as well. And all the other counties would have hired many times more than we, but they never believed it. If this gets extended, we can hire, I don't want to speak for Trent, and Trent will shake his head probably, but if we got this extended, we can get 10,000 people employed through this program. Now, he says that's not possible, and he'll come back and say, well, I want to give you this stat that shows that only 7,400 people or so have actually been vetted through this. All right, how about 7,000? I mean, you have 40,000 people out of work, and here we are, 7,000+ in this one program we can subsidize in terms of creating for the private sector that wants folks for the holidays to promote and market their business. And here's the insidious nature. Guess when these folks have no work? when they need that work more than ever during the holidays. Happy holidays. Good luck. And what does this do? It puts further pressure on those that are looking for jobs because thousands of people are going to start looking for that same work. And these are families, these are women, minorities, and I can't impress you more how important this is. So let's get rid of me and the politics and the politician, or rather, that is speaking, and then let's bring up, and Trent will do this in a moment, and bring up some other folks. By the way, not everyone gets paid $447 a week. I'm just saying that's the average for the transitional. Folks that have the permanent are getting paid $19.49 on average. $19.49. So even if you paid at that higher increment, how much more than $450 a week is that? Not much to actually have people employed. We have put together a list, and just quickly I'll get to this, of mayors across the country. We just launched an advocacy effort. Mayor Daley in Chicago, Mayor Bloomberg in New York, Mayor Nutter in Philadelphia, Mayor Cory Booker in Newark. These are my friends. Mayor Cicilline in Providence. They all understand the importance of this, so we just put together an organization around mayors being advocates for this. That's something else we wanted to announce, in addition to the Center for Budget and Policy priorities. And third, we will hear from a business leader that has gone out of his way because of what's at stake for his business to do an online petition to get like-minded business leaders across the country to say, you've got to be kidding me. You claim to be pro-small business, and you're going to let this project expire and put everybody else on the dime of welfare rolls, which we will have to pay indirectly with no benefit directly. Why possibly would you do that, and how could you argue for that? So with that, Trent we'll start up, and then I'm done. I get excited about this, Trent.
You can't be done. You can't be done. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple points about this report. 250,000 people nationwide hired through this federal money. Many, close to half, are youth, in fact. And when we started in May, we were one of the first on board. Los Angeles was on early as well. And Mayor Newsom would go to U.S. Conference of Mayors. He'd talk to his colleagues and say, we got this great program, and they invariably didn't know what it was. My office kept getting calls, Mayor of Providence's office, Mayor of Newark's office. Hey, I saw your mayor at an event, and we need to know how to launch this program. We've been talking to states and localities all over the country, and really, due to the mayor's leadership, this 250,000 number, I think, is really largely attributed to that. Robert Miller, who's here, one of our early partners with Jobsnow, well over 150 employees? 145 employees through Jobsnow. He'll talk about that, but he's also going to talk about this innovative online campaign that he has going to get this thing extended. So, Robert Miller.
I'm Robert Miller. I'm Director of Books for the Internet Archive. And first of all, I want to thank Mayor Newsom for having the fortitude, the foresight, and the temerity to stay with the program from the very beginning. You took a chance on Main Street. We want to take a chance on government. We've hired 145 people. Our first hire was in June of 2009, and our last hire was yesterday, the last day before the doors closed in terms of the hiring. We believe this program benefits both sides of Main Street. The employee, giving them a real job, doing real work. In fact, the 145 people that are working for me are building a free online digital public library of 1 million books, which will go to every school in America. It gives them pride, it gives them professional confidence, and lastly, it gives them a job that they can go back to their families with and make a difference in their community in terms of funding, financing, and confidence. And if America doesn't have the confidence to go forward on one side of Wall Street, how can we as the business people on the other side of Main Street make the decisions that we need to? So this is not a handout. This is a hand up as far as I'm concerned. This program is fantastic. As an employer in an uncertain economic environment, we didn't know what 2009 nor 2010 would unfold. We didn't know whether the economy was going to improve, stay flat, or continue to go down. But based on this particular program, it gave us the confidence to take a look at our payroll and make a bet on America, make a bet on San Francisco, and make a bet on our employees. And we hired 145 people. We're thrilled with the program. It's the best blending I've ever seen of one side of Main Street with another side of Main Street. So we don't want this program to continue forever. We don't want a handout, but we want to ask for one more year to give us a chance to put our risk into reality and jobs into the future for America and for San Francisco. So I want to announce, as Mayor Newsom mentioned and Trent mentioned, that we've been working very hard over the last week with the Mayor's office and with business leaders across America, targeting 10 key states that have used this wage subsidy program to great success: Mississippi, Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, Michigan, and 5 other states. And we're starting an online campaign to petition senators in each state, not only from an employee side, but from a business side. Let us create more jobs. Let us add more to our payrolls, payroll taxes, to help return money back to the government. But we need another leg up for another year. So join us and help us in this advocacy effort as we move forward in 2010 into 2011. So Mayor Newsom, one more time, thank you very much.
Well stated. Thank you. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Very kind.
Good. And Trent, I'd like to introduce one of the faces of the 145 people who works for me. There's a real side to this, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce Ginger Bisharat, who works for the Internet Archive and just celebrated her 1-year anniversary with the archive.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks, Robert. Thanks, Mayor Newsom. Thank you, Trent. Thank you, everyone, for having me here. I'm a single mother of 2 boys, and 15 months ago, I was having to make the choice between putting food on our table and paying my electricity bill. And we're one of those 3,820 families that Mayor Newsom spoke of. This job has meant so much to me. I have added skills and accomplishments to my resume over the last year. I'm helping to build a digital public library that's available to all schools across the nation. And I'm worried that what am I going to do after these funds run out? Am I going to lose my job? Am I going to have to go back to where I was 15 months ago? I'm also worried for all the jobs at risk across the nation. So thank you very much for having me here. I hope this program gets extended. I hope Congress listens to us today. And have a great day.
So Trent, keep America working, keep Main Street working. Thanks. Good. Thank you.
Appreciate it. When this program was announced at the federal level in early 2009, the first meeting that we had outside of the government walls was with the Chamber of Commerce in San Francisco. And with us today is Rob Black, who's the Director of Public Policy for the Chamber. And he's just going to say a few words about the Chamber's role, both locally as well as across the state and nation in terms of helping us get this extended. Rob?
Thank you, Trent. And thank you, Mayor, for your leadership on this. As I don't have to reiterate how nationally and even locally businesses are struggling, the economy is still struggling. We do see that improvements are coming. We see light at the end of the tunnel. But part of that light is, and I think we all know, is driven by small business. And that's where San Francisco's economy is based, the backbone of our economy, and nationally. We really depend on those jobs hired through small business. What this program has done for our local small businesses and small businesses across the country has put a direct subsidy into those small businesses that have kept them afloat in this last year, and in some, as we've just heard, even allowed them to grow. This is the win-win that we've been looking for through the stimulus. We think it's essential that it continue. We will be working with other chambers around the country, outreaching, especially in those key states, to ask other business leaders, other chambers who have benefited from the jobs created, benefited by being able to hire employees in a time when otherwise they would not have been able to grow their businesses when they would otherwise not been able to extend this one more year. We think it's very important, and we're very proud of the leadership that Trent has shown and that the mayor has shown. And I would like to also speak from one other perspective, and that's I also serve as the chair of the Workforce Investment Board here in San Francisco, which is where we do our workforce training. I cannot think of a better way to train somebody for work than to give them work. This is the best, a job is the best social program we can create, and this program does it directly. So thank you for your support and your efforts, and we look forward to continuing the fight. Thank you.
So bear with us. We have 2 more speakers. A program that grew as quickly as this and that really we put on the ground very, very rapidly has its hiccups and tweaks and shortcomings along the way. But to be successful, it also needs a lot of support from a wide range of folks out in the community. And we have with us today really the leader for small business in San Francisco. His name's Scott Hauge, and he's standing behind me. He was extremely helpful. I don't know if he thought he was being helpful or if my staff, frankly, thought he was being helpful. But he was gracious enough to spend his time to send us emails, to call, to point out shortcomings in the program. It really helped to improve our processes and I think improve ability for small business to take advantage of this program. And so really appreciate that, Scott, from myself and my staff, and they did appreciate it in the end. So Scott Hauge.
Thank you, and Mr. Mayor and Trent, I was trying to be helpful. I just want to clarify that. I'm also the founder and president of Small Business California, and I'm on the board of the National Small Business Association. And I've had the opportunity to speak to small businesses around the state and around the country about this phenomenal program, Jobsnow, in San Francisco. And most of the businesses I talk to, they say, why don't we have something like that in our area? But I've also had the opportunity firsthand to use the program. I hired an individual that I needed a claims person. I was shorthanded, and I didn't have the wherewithal to hire somebody, and I hired this incredible woman who has come in, and I will continue to employ her. But just to give you a story, this literally happened just this week. On Monday at 3 a.m., she had a child, and at 11 o'clock, she called my office and said she'd be in tomorrow, Tuesday. We told her that was not necessary, but it shows the dedication. And I'm also pleased to say that we're providing full benefits, so she has her sick leave and she has her medical. But she's done so much for Cal Insurance, my company. One of the things that isn't talked about on this program, obviously it's of benefit to the employer, it's in benefit to the individual, but the other benefit is to employees that work for us. I have a statement from the claims manager in my office, and her comment was, hiring someone who's participating in the Jobsnow program has enabled me to once again be able to provide our customers with the service they expect and deserve. Prior to the hiring of the participant, there was just too much work for one person to handle. So the impact to existing employees also was very, very positive. Without a doubt, this is the best program that I've ever seen in San Francisco. The Welfare to Work program a number of years ago, we created a program there, was very, very good, but this one is fantastic. And what I'm hearing from small businesses is that they've got good employees, they want to keep the employees, but the financial situation is that they're not going to be able to do it. I talked to Dave Sahagan that has a couple of service stations. He hired 6 people. He said 5 have worked out. He wants to hold everybody. It's given him an opportunity to grow his business, but he's going to have to lay off 3 employees, and that's just a very small number. It would be tragic to see this program ended. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Trent.
Some of the criticisms of this program nationally are that they're just make-work jobs. They're not really contributing to the economy or to business. That these are jobs that are being subsidized by federal dollars that would have otherwise been hired anyway. They would have been filled anyway. So you're not really creating new jobs. And then the third would be you're really placing people that they don't have skills to work and they don't contribute. And we did a survey of our employers, and the numbers were unbelievable. Over 80% of the employers said that they wouldn't have hired these individuals if it weren't for the job subsidy, creating new jobs. About 80% said it actually increased sales, increased revenue in their business because of the additional employees. And the third is that the employees had skills. The employees, over 80%, said increased efficiencies of the businesses and the business owners that we surveyed. Those numbers debunk those myths that I just spoke of and really debunk the arguments, the only policy arguments that are being made on the other side of the aisle, and the rest is as the mayor said, political. But I had a chance firsthand to meet someone who sort of is the real-world example of those statistics. His name is Tom Ye, and he owns environmentally friendly car wash, I think is how I'll describe it. But he'll tell you what he told me, which is how this program really, I think, not only helped maintain and even save his business, but really helped it grow. So, Tom Ye.
Thank you. I want to thank Mayor Newsom and Trent for the leadership in the program. My name is Tom Ye. I'm the founder and CEO of a small, fast-growing business called Siler Wash. We're a successful social venture that provides corporate services to 200-plus premier corporations in the Bay Area. In the course of business, we help them gain productivity by relieving a lot of errands that they do, which they otherwise have to spend time on. And we also employ a lot of people who are from digitally disadvantaged communities around the area. So prior to Jobsnow, we have 30 employees, and we were growing very quickly. We were on a very fast trajectory. And like most businesses on Main Street, U.S., it was the business literally were impacted dramatically overnight. And however, despite pending orders, we would have hold on to, like what most business has done, hold on to cash and trim staff and maintain staff. The Jobsnow program helped us tremendously in this regard. It had enabled us to continue to hire and grow to meet the demand. We currently have 12 full-time employees working for us right now. Even 2 got promoted in 2.5 months, and now they're currently mentoring other new Jobsnow employees to follow their footsteps. So we really would like the program to continue because that would allow business owners, small business owners like myself, our ability to take risk and continue to invest whenever there's demand. And also as a taxpayer, I mean, the best way to rescue the economy is by giving jobs to people on the Main Street. And I had a chance to look at various progress of the programs funded by stimulus. And from my research, dollar for dollar, this is by far the most effective way to get people back onto the street, onto the payroll. And I really want to, again, thank Mayor Newsom and Trent for the leadership, because that's the type of innovation that, as a taxpayer, that we see on this issue is exactly the type of innovation that make America the country it is today. And we wish that we can continue that. Thank you.
What really caught my attention when I spoke with Tom at the event, you see the picture behind you, was the risk. He didn't want to take the risk of hiring additional employees and in hopes that his company would grow. But Jobsnow allowed him to hire the additional employees, and his revenue has increased significantly. That's I think, a great or perfect example of the federal stimulus. What Tom also didn't say is that his wife had a baby yesterday. So we thank him for coming out during that. I think you have your hospital wristband on still? Good. Okay. So that's it for our speakers. We'll be happy to entertain questions.
Do you have any idea how many of those employers will be able to continue hiring?
Yeah. That's a great question, Carolyn. And we're surveying employers now, but if you look at the data from the survey, 80% or over 80% said that their Jobsnow employees resulted in increased sales, increased revenue. So one could assume, I think, pretty easily that a lot of those will use that increased revenue to continue to pay, even absent the subsidy. So we're working with the employer community now. We're also working with the Jobsnow employees, should there be a loss of job and a transition, helping them navigate the unemployment insurance system, benefits if necessary, building up their resumes, and getting them transitioned into other jobs.
And also looking to see if we can create some stimulus for the business as well, some incentive to keep people on. But we're hopeful, certainly hundreds, maybe 1,000 plus can maintain their status, at least temporarily. I imagine through the holidays, a lot of these businesses most likely can afford in that fourth quarter, particularly because so many on the service and retail economy, to keep people on. But come January, I think there'll be a big dip. And again, what happens is you take one subsidy and then you give people another subsidy, which in the case of a lot of the transitional workers that are getting paid $11.19 is more money not to work, which again sends a pretty powerful message that we're not serious about job creation and job growth and not serious about supporting businesses.
Is the last paycheck December 31st?
Well, last paycheck would be for the work done through September 30th, so arguably the second week of October would be the last check that would come, and then we would process those final checks through the end of October. It's, this thing, and again, when people started, the numbers, 250,000, this would be multiple millions had people learned about it earlier. It was almost a year in the program. Trent deserves all the credit. He was doing conference calls with other gubernatorial staffs because they didn't believe it, not just mayoral staffs. When I had to use conference of mayors, not one mayor had ever heard of this. And this was after we had over 1,500 people employed. I'm like, you got to be kidding, you never heard of this. And then folks said, nah, they just sort of rolled. I even went to see the governor. I handed him, we went together. I don't want to lay him out, but my gosh. I mean, call the California Chamber in your office. Call 58 county presidents of their board of supervisors into your office and say, I've got a deal for you. There's over $1 billion of federal money for this state alone. Let's go out and create 250,000 jobs in this state. Instead, we had a speech about, well, we need more money for workforce training. Where are you going to find the money? A, it never came forward because, again, no accountability in this country for things you say versus things you do. And C, you just heard, the best job training program is a job, which we could have been doing with federal money that would have helped all these businesses and substantially reduced the unemployment in the state, not just in our city. And I should note, why is it that San Francisco's unemployment rate is almost better than any other county in the state of California? I mean, does anyone ever pause to ask that question? I mean, why? Inherently, is that the case? Well, do the math. 3,820 people employed that otherwise potentially would have been unemployed, 40,000 people unemployed overall. What's that represent in percentage terms? And how does that translate to your unemployment rate? We're well over 10%, up there with other peer cities without this program. It's been that significant. It does matter what happens down at City Hall in the state capitol, and it is about leadership, and leadership is not the elected officials as much as it is the folks in the trenches, and those are folks like Trent Rohr and his team that have really driven this with the business leadership you see behind me.
Talk about, Mr. Mayor, what impact those people becoming unemployed would likely have on the city's social services, given what we've been...
Thank you. There are two things that can happen, and it's very important. You heard about these 99ers? These are the folks that are going to lose unemployment insurance, even the extended benefits from the federal government. What happens with those 99ers? They end up on county welfare rolls, the county adult assistance programs. And we already saw when the unemployment debate occurred and there was still a question of whether or not those unemployment benefits were going to be extended, you saw substantial increases, double the number of applications on our county program, unbudgeted, subsidized by the counties. So two things happen. People go on the federal rolls. Some of them may have already had experience on the unemployment rolls before and don't get the natural extension benefits. Then they end up on their county rolls, and the county has to subsidize it at a time when the counties are already financially strapped, versus a program that costs less money to keep people employed, that creates economic output and sales growth, which generates more sales tax revenue, more payroll tax revenue, and has a multiplier and a stimulus. You've heard me say this when I've tried to describe to you. There's a physiology to me behind this, because I'm just mesmerized that it's not so obvious to the folks in Washington, D.C., and perhaps there is a complete disconnect. It's not just rhetoric, is there, between the Washington culture and the reality out there on, yes, I'll say it, Main Street. I hate the phrase, though. It was beautiful when you heard it from Robert, because he said it so well. I hate politicians saying it, I should say, because it seems almost like poll-driven rhetoric. And they say it at every debate, and you always, and it's just nonsense. It's just words. And I can't for the life of me understand how this is getting caught up in the politics in the Senate. Again, we're 1 or 2 votes away from getting this. This is a done deal. All we need to pick up is 1 or 2 Republicans.
So I was going to ask Robert Miller about the online campaign and trying to pick up those one or two. So are these states that you think the Senate Republicans are wavering, or are these states that are using this program and have a lot of people who could benefit from continuing with it?
The common currency with all these states is the color of the money is green. The votes that we're going after are red. So by and large, Texas, Mississippi, and states similar to those are red states. We believe that when the true facts, as Mayor Newsom outlined, are put on the table, that people really believe this is not a partisan issue, it's a bipartisan issue. We want to keep America working. And as a small business owner, it's important for us to know that less risk is taken out of our decisions every day. This will help take a tremendous amount of risk out of our decisions for the next year.
But these are states that have a number of people in the program, or they haven't used the program?
They have used the program. I talked to a woman from Mississippi, the head of the HSA, yesterday, and in her delightful Mississippi accent, she said, "Robert," she said, "this is the most successful program we have ever done." And she said, "We just couldn't spend the money fast enough." So it echoes the same thing that Trent and Mayor Newsom are saying. They said, "We would want this program extended for an extra year." She said, "I have small business owners now clamoring to take people off our unemployment rolls." So it's something, it's not left coast, east coast, it's all coasts and every state in between.
So what are the mechanics of the campaign?
Well, your campaign, please. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll tell you about what we're doing as well.
I think it's a collaborative campaign. From our standpoint, we're reaching out business owner to business owner and trying to garner letters of support. As I mentioned earlier, this is not a handout, it's a hands-up program. We believe very bluntly that it helps our bottom line and also our top line. So we want people who have benefited, like some of the other employers in the room here, to speak out and let their congressmen, congresswomen know that there's something that has to be carried forward. Working very closely with the government officials here to try and leverage their contacts to put our voice with their voice.
And, you know, I didn't mean to take a shot, and I don't know that I really did. I could have, but I didn't, to Governor Schwarzenegger. But to his credit, he's on board. He's supportive, and his chief of staff supportive of our efforts and help. So we do have a bipartisan effort. The city council member, the board of supervisor member down in Los Angeles, his name escapes me again, Dan Kanabe, a Republican who, trust me, is not very supportive of a lot of things we do up here. Is extraordinarily supportive of these efforts. He and I coined an op-ed piece together. I think it was in the LA Times. Where ultimately was, or ended up in some newspaper. Maybe it ended up online, or maybe I just put it on my website. Did anyone pick up it? Several places picks it up. LA Daily News. That's great. Go out and buy the LA Daily News. So their credit. But we did an op-ed just showing, that, again, the bipartisan nature of this. And if you're Haley Barbour, the governor of Mississippi, you should love this. If you're Rick Perry, the governor of Texas, you should love this. And they should be out there front and center, because really the key is going to be Republicans taking the leadership, because we've got the strong leadership of Democrats. Remember, it's gone through the House twice. We've had two, well, arguably pyrrhant victories, because it really didn't ultimately manifest. It got caught up in this debate and the jobs bill debate and everything else. Now they come back from recess, and there's a small period of time where this can happen. So the advocacy is now, why are we doing it today? The advocacy is going to be focused in the next few weeks. No city is better positioned to be an advocate and a leader than San Francisco, because of Speaker Pelosi, because of Senior Senator Dianne Feinstein and Barbara Boxer, and their strong advocacy and bipartisanship with the governor, Governor Schwarzenegger, and others, and local representatives, Republicans, not just Democrats. So we're in a unique position, but again, it's not good enough, because everything's being played out with these midterm elections. And what we're doing is playing with people's lives. We're playing with their families. I mean, we're not just talking about, you've got 2 kids. I mean, this is serious business. This is not just about the person speaking. And I'll tell you, with an 11-month-old, I get it now. That's not, I could have, 11 months ago, I would have said that and not understood it like I understand it now. That's serious. And that's what this is about. It's not 3,820 people, it's 3,820 families.
One of the things that Small Business California is doing is working with the Small Business Committee in the Senate, Senator Snow and Mary Landrieu, on this program.
They're key. Those are the 2 that are key.
I just want to leave you with this stat to your question, David. Over the last 9 months, 994 families have left the welfare program in San Francisco, the CalWorks program. If you can compare that to the prior 9 months before JobsNow, a little over 254 families. So we're more than 3.5 times the number of families leaving aid. Put it into context, we only have about 5,000 families on welfare, so almost 20% have already left. This is a program that's funded with federal dollars, it's funded with state dollars, it's funded with county dollars. You know, where do the feds want to spend their money, on the welfare side or on this side?
Reduction in welfare rolls in 9 months because of this program. I mean, now I'm starting not to believe it because the benefits are so far-reaching and self-evident. Anybody else? Any other questions? So thank you guys very much, and we'll try to make this happen. Great job. Thank you. Congratulations. It's great.